I've been more intentional about what I wear day to day, leaning into pieces that feel easy, comfortable, and still put together. It just makes getting dressed simpler. And Quince is a great go to for that. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are clean, and everything just works without needing to overthink it. I love when the seasons changed and I get to rediscover some Quince clothes in my closet. Just rediscovered a great white button down shirt I have from Quince that'll go well with my travel pants. Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than you'd find at similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middleman so you're getting premium material without the markup. Think 100% European linen shorts and shirts from $34, lightweight, breathable, and comfortable, but still look put together and clean. 100% Prima cotton tees with a softness that has to be felt. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/traveler for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know that one friend who always finds the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach? Smart Travel is like that friend, but in podcast form. They cover all things finance, like which travel cards earn their keep and which are just heavy, shiny metal, the quick math for knowing when to pay with points or just swipe the credit card, planning group trips that won't ruin your budget or your friendships. If you haven't heard the story about friends who won't speak to each other after a 1-week vacation together, buy me a Diet Coke sometime and I'll tell you. The nerds at NerdWallet know this stuff better than me, and that's why I feel great about recommending the Smart Travel podcast. After all, we nerds have to stick together. Travel smarter and spend less with the help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Amateur Traveler, episode 998. Today, Amateur Traveler talks about beaches and broilers, mansions and a motor speedway, U-boats, and the Air Mobility Command as we go to Delaware. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about Delaware. I would like to welcome back to the show Dannelle Gay from travelingcheesehead.com. She has been on the show before talking about Wisconsin, but this time we're talking about Delaware. Danielle, is Delaware known for their cheese?
I did have cheese there. It was funny. They managed to work cheese into most of the meals. We might talk about that.
What is your connection with Delaware?
So, besides all the things that I do in tourism, I also lead a few group tours a year. And I went and checked out Delaware, which in the Midwest, I'm in a flyover state, everybody says. And I always encourage
Mhm.
people to come here and get off the exit, take a look. Delaware, a lot of people think of it as either a flyover state or a
Or a
drive
drive
through
over
state.
state, yeah.
And yes, it's only got 3 counties, but there was so much to see and do. I wanna go back just for me, not alone planning and taking a group with me. There were so many things that just made me go, "Holy buckets, this is amazing," which it was never on my radar before. You know, the T-shirts with all the states
Yeah,
that you color in or whatever? I had never really looked at Delaware until now.
excellent. And why should someone go to Delaware?
Oh my gosh, if you are a foodie, if you're a history buff, if you're a beach person, there's so many different reasons. If you're into military history or you get into aircraft, World War II history, any of that, it is such an amazing place to visit. Yes, it's the first state, but there was
Mhm.
so much more that I learned when I was there.
Excellent. And we say it's the first state because it was the first state to ratify the Constitution, as I recall.
Correct. In
Excellent. And
fact, they have, the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
yep.
They had a midnight ride themselves in the middle of this thunderstorm where the guy who was too sick to go and ratify the Constitution ended up with the vote and all of that to be able to pull away and move forward with all of this. He rode for over 12 hours in the middle of the night, sick, in pouring rain, to ratify this so that we could break away from England.
So that would be to ratify the Declaration of Independence.
Yes. So
Excellent.
with that, So when they talk about the midnight ride, everyone's, oh, Paul Revere. And that's not who's on their coins. They're like,
Funny.
no. So there were all sorts of things like that that I learned. I mean, from history to present day, it was just amazing.
You know why Paul Revere is mentioned in the poem as the person who rides to Lexington and Concord to warn the British, don't you?
Oh, share us with us.
Because Prescott, who is the guy who actually got there, doesn't rhyme. Paul Revere never made it to Lexington and Concord, but that's a whole nother episode. So, what
Poetic
itinerary are you going to
license.
recommend for us, Danielle? Danielle and I, unfortunately, are friends, and you, the rest of you, are just going to have to put up with that.
Yeah, this is a family friendly chat here. We've traveled together. This has been fun. Hopefully, we'll be doing that again soon. But so I know it sounds strange to say 3 counties. And if you think of your own state, thinking 3 counties and taking a whole week to do that, Delaware really had that much to see and do. So if you fly in, you're going to probably fly into Philly, and then you can go ahead, either rent a car and drive or take an Uber. I think Uber cost me about $44. And then I went to Wilmington, the Hilton. I'm a Hilton gal. That's my thing, but there were plenty of other hotels that we saw. I stayed mostly at the Hilton Wilmington Christiana. That was it. What I loved about the Christiana, besides the Hilton, and I always get a kick out of when I open up my room and it says, welcome Dannelle on the little TV screen thing, but the food that they had there, the breakfast bar, an amazing breakfast buffet. And I don't know about you, but when I travel, sometimes it takes me a while to wake up. I like my cup of coffee. They even had a lady there making custom order omelets. And I don't see that in every hotel that I go to. It was so much better than some of the hotels where they had that little machine that pops out pancakes or the Belgian waffle iron. I get tired of some of those. This was an amazing breakfast gourmet food, and it was so worth staying there and using that as a central base for the trip. But there are other options. The Sands is closer to the beach. They have all of the major chains. It's just, that was, I think, probably my favorite. And it didn't matter if you went north or south then, it was a great home base for your daily explorations. Let's start then with the beach, because Delaware, you're right on the coast. And that was one thing. I didn't dig too much into this trip before I went on it, because I like to be surprised and learn things that maybe I didn't know. And it was like, okay, yes, it's on the coast. There's going to be beaches, but the beaches were fabulous. And they also had the fences up to protect the dunes. They had customized walks in there. But in Rehoboth Beach, they have a boardwalk. And I love the old fashioned boardwalk. Not only do they have benches there that you can just sit and you can watch everything going on, the kids playing with the dogs and the frisbees in the water, but on the other end of it, saltwater taffy shops, ice cream parlors. They had so many fun things to see and do. And if you are a people watcher like I am, it's fabulous.
So now you've jumped down to southern Delaware from northern Delaware, where Wilmington is, when you get down to Rehoboth Beach.
I'm starting down there at the bottom.
Okay. That's just fine. I just wanted to orient people here. If we were going to
I'm working my way up.
Okay.
All right. What I love the most about boardwalks, that energy, but I love to just get coffee and do a slow walk and do the people watching. They have tiki bars out there. They have food stands. They had so many different things that it made it just a very fun experience. Now, maybe it's just because I'm a gal from Wisconsin and we don't necessarily have things like boardwalks. The beach time is fun, but the people watching is great. And then the activity that they had going around it, that just made me really excited. But you're really close then to Lewis, and that's the historic town. Quiet, charming, historic. You can get from the historic campus costumed interpreters. So we had someone from colonial times, the whole red stocking cap, the short breeches, the whole thing, that took us through different places. There's the Zwannendale Museum that talks about the history and the culture of the area. But then there's places like Little Colonial Village, and they have the Cannonball House. I love this story. During the times when Britain was invading, they had spots where, okay, all of a sudden they needed to get supplies. So they would send someone to land to Lewis and say, can we have food? We'll pay you the real price for it, fair value. And they were like, heck no, go away. And they're like, if you don't do it, we're going to shoot cannons at you. So they waited. They didn't give them food, and the British attacked, shooting cannons into the town. Because of the way the town is set up, there was one row of houses and shops along the shoreline, and then everybody else behind. About 2 blocks behind was the tavern. The cannonballs all hit that first line, which was empty because everybody was at the tavern. And they were like, we should fight back. They didn't know what to fight back with. And they realized the English had just donated 5,000 cannonballs to them. So they picked up the cannonballs, shot them back. Of course, they didn't really hit the ship because they had been at the tavern for several hours first. So it was just a fun story. And the Cannonball House, part of this historic tour you learn, you see a cannonball still embedded into this house, as
Okay.
well as the costume interpreters telling you the stories like this and some of the other ones that happened. And you even get to feel how heavy one of those cannonballs was.
Well, and just to date this, you're talking about the British coming in the War of 1812. So
Yes.
this is the war where they sail up the Chesapeake and burn Washington, D.C.
All sorts of fun things, isn't it?
But yeah, you have to watch out for those British tourists. They can be rowdy.
I don't know how many are carrying cannonballs today, but what I loved the most about that is I love costumed interpreters like historical villages when they're doing that living history. I think that multi-layer levels of learning, so kids from 2 to 102 pick up
Hmm.
and understand what they're talking about. And they had full museums with lots of displays. The maritime history obviously goes way, way back. You even see one of the giant reels they used because they had giant nets. They were originally a fishing community, and you learn all about how they basically fished themselves out of business. But when you had these giant nets, they created these giant rollers to put the nets on so they could roll them. It took 8 people inside walking to make this thing roll and collect the nets up so that they could dry their nets to then turn around and use and go fishing again. This is way before the eco-friendly concept and balancing what we fish and things like that. So they stopped being a fishing community. And their main reason that they had a lot of the homes further away from that first row was because the smell of processing all that fish. You didn't
Hmm.
want your house too close to that all back then. And besides all that fun stuff with the historical village in that area, there's the Zwannendale Museum. Back when the
Okay.
Dutch came over, and if you can't get inside because of your timing, they have really nice displays on the outside that explain a lot of things too. But if you can get inside, it's beautiful.
And it looks like a building right out of Amsterdam. It looks like it was Hanseatic League, put it on a boat and ship it over here to Delaware.
Pretty much. It's gorgeous. The trim, the painting, everything inside, they have really taken ownership of a lot of their history and their culture and kept things preserved and maintained where in this country, the United States, you don't always see that. So a lot of these groups, usually in different areas, you see where they're struggling for funds so that they can go ahead and renovate or update or keep things going. This stuff
Hmm.
was very well maintained in this area. It was really nice to see.
And this is news to me too, as someone who thought they knew their American history. I knew, obviously, New Amsterdam, that New York's heritage was Dutch, but I didn't realize that the first European colony in Delaware was also Dutch.
You learned your new thing for the day.
I'm good now. Thanks for coming.
And when you're talking, Lewis, you also have to talk about the ferry, Cape May.
Okay.
So, ferries are very fun. You can very affordably play on the water. But what I liked the most about this was the giant playground outside. You can't always say, okay, I'm at the ferry, let's go now. You have to wait for their timetable and schedule. And if you have kids with you, it is so nice to have something for them to burn all their energy off. And it was a huge outdoor play structure area. It was almost like a city park built into it. I thought, wow,
Hmm.
when my little was little, I would have killed for something like that by some of the ferries that we ended up waiting for. You had to keep pulling things out of your hat in the car to keep somebody entertained and all that. Not to mention the fancy building with all of the amenities inside so that you can wait if it's really hot out. But and along the shore, if you're watching, because you can look out and it's a beautiful view, whether you're on the ferry or on the shore, dolphins can be visible depending on what time of the year you're there.
Got it. And so this is the ferry over to Cape May, New Jersey, the other side of the, what is this? I guess the Delaware Bay.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe after that, I don't know if you're a winery person like I am, vineyards, wineries, Salted Vines Vineyard and Winery. They will do little tours so that you can learn more about their process. They've been bottling wines for a little over 10 years. This is the only place in Delaware that processes everything in house.
Okay.
So from juice to labeled bottles, they do it there. And because of it, they have a slightly different government contract. So they couldn't, let's say you're having a fundraiser, they couldn't donate alcohol to you. They could give you a gift certificate, but they have different regulations because they're the only one in the state that is set up the way that they are, where they do everything in house. Other
Hmm.
people do bits and pieces out of house. I'm a fan of wine tastings. And I always love it when the sommelier asks what choices, and I say something like, "Oh, surprise me." They go, "Do you like white or red?" I'm like, "Yes." "Do you like sweet or dry?" "Yes." And they are known for a few of their standard labels, but also
Hmm.
they do fun, creative things. So, like a white chocolate raspberry, they play off some seasonal ideas when they're having fun doing what they do. You can sit outside, drink your wine, looking at the grapevines that they have out there. They're adding and replanting and adding and building up their own vineyards too, so that they don't have to buy grapes and bring them in, because they buy some grapes, but they also have a lot of their own on staff.
On staff.
On staff.
Did-
Well, the way you train, have you ever seen how grapevines are trained?
yes, although there are a variety of ways to do it.
I like it where they're like the split rails in between them, and then they run almost like tapes across. So
Hmm.
they're very thin, stuck up. It just kind of makes me think of a split rail fence.
Okay.
So that's on staff.
I don't think that's the term we use in the wine industry, but that's okay.
Okay.
I use my cell phone pretty much constantly while I'm traveling, and that's just not to stay in touch, but that's also navigation, translation, information. So I need data. Don't be buying that expensive plan from your carrier to use overseas, and don't be getting a SIM from the airport. These days, you can get an eSIM, for instance, from our sponsor, Saley, today. With an eSIM, you don't have to physically put anything different in your phone. Just download the Saley app and choose an appropriate plan. It might be a plan just for one country, global or regional plan. With Saley, an eSIM needs to be installed only once, so you don't have to even install a new SIM for each country, and you can have your data where you want when you need it. And because Saley is sponsoring Amateur Traveler, you can get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley eSIM data plans. Download the Saley app and use the code Amateur Traveler at checkout. Get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley data plans. Use code Amateur Traveler at checkout. Download the Saley app or go to saley.com/amateur traveler. And that's Saley, Saily. And thanks to Saley for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping my money too. Before Mint Mobile asked about being a sponsor in the show, I was already looking at Mint Mobile because what they offer, the same towers, the same service for less money, was something that appealed to me. After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got fed up with crazy high wireless bills. At Mint Mobile, all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Bring your own phone and number, activate with eSIM in minutes, and start saving immediately. No long-term contracts and no hassles. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/traveler. That's mintmobile.com/traveler. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5 GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And thanks to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Another thing to do in the area is the Cape Henlopen State Park.
Okay.
So again, you're going to see beaches, you're going to see dunes, but what I didn't realize was that during World War II, I didn't realize the government was so afraid of German U-boats and things like that coming across the Atlantic.
Well, they were here. They were just coming across the Atlantic. They were going up and down the coast of the U.S.
And our government built bunkers. So here you're looking at these
Hmm.
beautiful dunes and out at the water. You turn around and you're looking at a concrete bunker. It's still
Hmm.
there and they've turned it into a museum, the towers. So their construction for that was, you've been to Normandy, haven't you?
Hmm.
So the German bunkers that were up on the top that they bombed and stuff like that with all the rebar and the concrete, things like
Sure.
that. These were built incredibly strong and durable like that. It's nice that they were able to repurpose it, but learning about how, thankfully they never had to use it, but that we had that kind of technology in there and those things set up. That's not something I learned in my history books. So they do costumed interpreters, they do reenactments, they shoot off the big guns that they still have. And so anyone who is a World War II buff, veterans, kids learning history, things like that, they'll bring school groups in too. I just thought that was another fascinating point. If you're somebody who's, I don't know, I'm 50 plus, I love to learn all these little bits like the National World War II Museum in Louisiana and New
Hmm.
Orleans, and then tying in things like this. You learn bits and pieces of the history through different places you go so you can put together an entire picture.
Yet, just to put it in perspective, so over 400 ships were sunk by U-boats in American waters in World War II, and about 175 of those lost along the East Coast. So again, it wasn't a fear that they might come over; it was that they were there. They were prowling these waters, and so there were over 4,600 deaths of sailors in World War II in American waters.
Isn't that just crazy? Wow.
Yeah,
I might have gone to the winery before I went to the state park. So I might have missed
that's
that
okay.
maybe. If wine isn't your thing, I'm from Wisconsin. We're the equal opportunity wineries and breweries. Thompson Island Brewing Company. They have a couple of locations, they have restaurants, and their food was so fun. I like breweries and microbreweries, but if they don't have any food, it's very hard to do a sampling or a tasting of
Sure.
different flavors, because any kind of flight, because you get a little intoxicated. So it's nice having places like that also serve food.
Hmm.
And when they have a full menu, and I was thinking, okay, cheese, yeah, Wisconsin. I was looking at the menu and I picked the burrata grilled cheese.
Okay.
And I was a little leery because it said American cheese in it. And I was like, that's not cheese. But so I asked to have it with Swiss instead. And when it came out, okay, it was bigger than my mouth. No comment, please. And I was sitting there thinking their idea of burrata, they're not the cheese capital like Wisconsin is, that it was going to be the American cheese. They actually had burrata in the grilled cheese with the apple butter and the drunken cranberries and all of this other stuff. So it was a nice big gooey. It was probably the best dang grilled cheese I have ever eaten. But they had other food too. They had a mix of burritos. They had Thai noodle bowls that you could get salmon with. They had all sorts of appetizers, which their appetizers are shareables. They are not like, oh, I'm going to get the hummus plate and it's three pieces of bread, a little scoop of hummus, and four cucumbers. It is a huge 15-inch plate with a bowl of hummus on there and a lot of
Hmm.
different things to dip and to share. So all of their appetizers were definitely, a family of four could order two or three appetizers and have a full meal, but save room for that grilled cheese. Oh my gosh. I will say their beer was very good. They had a nice play on some darker beers. It had a nice coffee flavor to it. It depends if you are a beer aficionado or not, but it was a darn good place
Which
to
is
eat.
a word that is hard to say after 3 beers, but
Yeah, one or two, yeah. So everybody in our group ordered something different,
hmm.
and everybody was raving about the choices that they made. The desserts, they had even baked Alaska, which surprised me. Baked Alaska, but they put their twist in it that had a little coffee ale flavor to it, like a vanilla bread pudding combination. So
Hmm.
they had fun desserts too. Now, let's move to central Delaware.
Okay.
So, like the Dover area,
Okay.
Air Mobility Command Museum. Now, I've been inside a C-5 before. That's like a troop transport plane.
Yeah.
but there's only one place in the world that has one in a museum, and it is the Air Mobility Command Museum. It's a branch of the Air Force that all of the logistics for everything in the Air Force is handled by.
Hmm.
So they move soldiers, tanks, you name it, equipment, pallets full of supplies. That's their job to move all of that stuff. And whether it's, like I said, people or product, they are the ones that coordinate it. They even handle Air Force One. So they have, I want to say 40 planes, but the inside the Air Mobility Command Museum were a lot of vignettes and displays that covered everything from, they had Vietnam, World War One, World War Two. So you had different planes and they had different vignettes set up so you could get an idea of what was going on. A section that talked about the former segregated military
Okay.
and what it was like for those that were not white American guys. So they handled, I think, the history and the storytelling really well. You could get inside a cargo plane and get an idea with the fold down metal seats and sit on it,
Yeah.
um, and see how they would stack 4 or 5 deep the stretchers when they turned around and they were transporting wounded soldiers back.
Mm.
But then when you go outside, all the fun planes and learning the little details like the precision that it takes to refuel a plane in midair
Oh, yeah.
and the little fins and the little guy that's in the back who's handling that and driving and steering the little fin thing and keeping a control of it. I know there's technical words for it, but the concept of not having to land a plane to refuel it and doing that in
Right.
the air, that just same speeds, the whole thing. And he explained it pretty well. He said, if you're in a car and you're driving by a signpost, it looks like you're going really fast. If that signpost was going the same speed as you could reach over and touch it.
Right.
Not that I would, but so they help you understand how things like that were possible. But
Hmm.
the C5 is outside, and you get to go inside the C5. And they really talk about the history of C5 and some of the different things that it has done and what it has meant for the military and the mobility that they've been able to offer and support with our soldiers and communities.
And you made reference to it, but basically, this is a plane big enough to hold tanks and powerful enough to get it off the ground then when you put tanks in it.
I can't remember if that was 5 tanks. I'm trying to remember because I saw so many graphics of all the things it could hold, like how many million ping pong balls. And I want to know who figured that one out. But so they were talking about different possible loads, but I think it was 5 tanks that it
Mm.
can hold and transport. It was either 5 tanks or 5 semis, but I think it was 5 tanks. It was just a really cool experience. Plane
2
buffs.
Abram main battle tanks is what can it hold.
Oh, those are the big ones, aren't they?
Yeah, the biggest ones that we have.
I know not everybody's a plane buff, not everybody's a military buff. We have a
Hmm.
lot of NASCAR energy out there, and Dover has the Motor Speedway. Now it's called the Monster Mile, and it kind of feels like it. They have the big fun guy who's like a giant stone creature who's got a race car in his hand to crush, and that's their logo. But
Okay.
I know, but they have that little guy everywhere. They even have him at the stand where the winner's circle is. They have
Uh-huh.
a much smaller one, but that's their logo for the monster of the Monster Mile. And you learn about this 1 mile track, and it is very heavily angled. So that makes it a lot of fun because I always think of when I learned to drive, my dad was a cop and we used to speed on corners. So I would wish to maybe try to drive on that track with it angled so steep the whole way around.
Okay.
They get so many people there for these races. I've never really gotten into the whole NASCAR thing. I don't know, have you?
I have not, I think, seen a NASCAR race.
I've been to the Indy 500 and got to kiss the bricks and stuff like that. So this was much smaller than that, but it still had that same fun energy. And they do the same things where you can go, the track is on the outside. They have a little more of an inner track, and then you have the infield. So they do have VIP passes, and you can have
Hmm.
whatever kind of curated experience you want on race days. But if you can take a tour before or after a race and learn about the history of the track, as well as you get to take your pictures with the winner stand and one of the pace cars, you see where the pit crews You see
Hmm.
where the cars park, and then in less than 18 seconds, they change the tires, check the oil, do
Yep.
whatever it is that they do. So it's a very different kind of a racetrack. It's opened my eyes to a few different things. Now I actually want to watch a NASCAR race just to see. I've seen the movies like Ford versus Ferrari, but that's not
Right.
exactly
Sure.
really
Hmm.
understanding NASCAR.
And that's Formula One instead of NASCAR. But yep.
See, I'm the person who, when my husband says with football games, now he's a tight end, and he certainly is. Okay, no. So when I learn anything about a different sport, I get really excited because I might not necessarily have known that.
I have driven on a NASCAR track, not obviously during a race up in New York, but do you know the name of the monster at Dover?
Ooh, that's a good one. I know
His
they
name
probably
is
told us.
Miles. Miles the monster.
That makes sense.
He was
So the monster,
originally a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
he was. I could see that. Repurposed. I love things repurposed. All right, so now we've talked planes, we've talked
Hmm.
cars. We're going to step back into agriculture.
Okay.
So Delaware has an agricultural museum, and I love to support our farmers and our farming community. I'm very big with field to fork restaurants. In our country, we were losing about one family farm a day. So anything we can do to support our agriculture, whether it's going to the pumpkin patches, picking apples or farmers markets or supporting that kind of a restaurant. So when you have an agricultural museum that takes you through the history of that area's agriculture, you already know that Dutch came into this area, but roasted chickens started here. Roasters. Chickens there were used for eggs. This
Okay.
one lady wanted to get 50 chickens and ended up with 500. And she was like, what am I going to do with all these birds? Raised them, roasted them, sold them. And the next thing you know, they have a roasted chicken industry.
Okay.
That's just one of the stories that they had there. They have inside historic homes that were brought in and re-put together, like the little log cabins. And then the talks of when you had the little carts going through with the street with the horses and the markets, the little vendors. They had so many different little vignettes and stories there. You could even see a lot of engaging activities with kids where they had a cow that you could sit in a chair and you could actually milk the cow. I know it sounds strange, but they had rubber teats for the cow.
I had uncles who were dairy farmers, so I have milked a real cow
Yes,
in
but for
Wisconsin.
kids who
Not Minnesota.
haven't,
Yep.
it's full of water, so they can really squirt
Yep. Yep.
water into the bucket, and unless they do it right, it won't work.
Okay.
So you would have been able to show them the right way to do it. Not everybody realizes that little roll of the fingers, but
I don't know why you think I knew how to do it the right way, but
I'm assuming that when you did it, you actually got milk.
I assume so too. But this was a long time ago.
I'm not going to say how long it is because then that makes me older too. But was this the families that were in Wisconsin?
Yes.
Makes sense. That totally makes sense then. Yes. And you would have learned to do it the right way. But they had a lot of different other engaging activities like that for kids. Again, place for kids from 2 to 102 to learn about the history of that area, the agriculture, and how it helped develop it into the area that it is now.
Got it.
Then for the history buffs, we are in the first state. So there's the First State Heritage Park. I like to think of it as Washington, D.C., where you have the mall and you have all of the different memorials.
Yep.
So their First State Heritage Park, you have the green space, and all the way around the green space are different historic buildings. And again, they have costumed interpreters, and you can learn some of the very colorful history, how some of the taverns were run by ladies. There may or may not have been a few black widows there, where the woman was married 4 or 5 times and at one point to even a stepson. So it's like the real wives of historic Delaware. So they've kept these houses. You see how they've got it still set up in period. They do different demonstrations where they might show lace making or weaving on a loom. You can get all those different kinds of hands-on experiences. And they have more of the gardening and the outdoor stuff when the weather is nicer. But the guides are so fun. They're very engaging and they really have done a good job on their history. So when they're telling some of these stories about people of the past, you're just reeled right into it. It was just one of those, it was like the Real Housewives of Delaware
And
past.
this was a organized tour that I could book if I went there, or
Exactly. So because it's the historical state heritage park, they have different tours that are available as a state park.
okay. Just getting back to the chickens for a second.
Oh yeah.
I was doing a little research because don't know if people are aware, but chickens in the United States and chickens in the world were not as large before about the 1940s. And so they weren't as popular as terms of a food to be eaten because they were much smaller. And what you were talking about in terms of the development of the broiler is basically they bred a chicken for broiling that was a larger chicken, which is the Delaware chicken. So the chicken that we know that we now purchase all the time, if you're in my house, goes back to the 1940s in Delaware, where basically they said, let's make a chicken that's good for eating.
See, I told you Delaware just kept blowing my mind.
Okay.
I think those are the chickens I get too.
Yeah, pretty much everybody does. They were popularized through Purdue, through Frank Purdue. It takes a tender guy to make a tender chicken or something like that.
I miss logos and slogans and stuff like that. They worked so well. We almost remember them. They have the courthouse there
Mm-hmm.
in the State Heritage Park, and you can have a gentleman come in and he talks about the history between free black men back then and the former enslaved. And you learn things like a free black man could be arrested and then sold into slavery. And
Not
they
legally, but it happened. Yeah.
it did happen. It's crazy. So you learned a lot about Delaware and the former enslaved and their whole role in the abolitionist movements with emancipation. And every time they came up for votes about making things illegal, there weren't enough people to vote to make it illegal because too many other people, one way or another, relied on the income or the influence of people who wanted it to stay legal.
Yep.
Crazy world.
I'm a guy in my 60s, and that means growing up, skincare for me just meant washing my face, and we only wore sunscreen if we went to the beach. And so my skin has seen some wear and tear. That's one of the reasons I like OneSkin as a sponsor. Obviously, it's better if you start sooner than I did. OneSkin's results are backed by 4 peer reviewed clinical studies, over 10,000 5-star reviews, and they've been recognized by Bloomberg as a leader in skin longevity. You don't really need a complicated routine to get healthier, younger looking skin. Born from over a decade of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code TRAVELER at oneskin.co/traveler. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code TRAVELER. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support this show and tell them I sent you. And thanks to OneSkin for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Let's head to the Wilmington area, back by the hotel. And what I loved about Wilmington was the mansions. This is your mansion district. We started in the beach, then we got into a lot of the history and area in the middle there, and now we're in the mansion district. And wow, I learned so much about the DuPont legacy. I had no idea about everything that they were involved in and everything that they started. And it's interesting to see one mansion set up or one property where They had pretty much just come over and they're working on making blasting powder, and they're fairly modest accommodations, and then going to another house after they've made all of their money and seeing the opulence that drips in every square inch of that property. So you really need to have a day or two to go through the mansions and to do it right. But please do it in the spring, summer, or fall when the gardens are open.
Okay.
The way that they are planted, it's just stunning.
So
Okay,
this is the Nemours estate? That
we're
is a
starting with
DuPont?
the Hagley Museum.
Got it. Okay.
Hagley Museum and Library. So these were gunpowder mills, which they needed gunpowder for everything. And they, trial and error, they had a few explosive lessons. So
Okay.
they learned to a little bit further away from the house. But you can still see along the water, they had used water power to really work a lot of the different parts of the factory, as
Mhm.
well as keeping some of the testing sections farther out. So the house might hear something go, but they weren't going to be affected by it. It's a really interesting part of industrial history, seeing how they pulled things together, the pulley systems, using the water, the hydropower, everything that they pulled together. And this was what they came over and didn't have a ton of money. This is what they started with. And it was just the beginning of their inventions and legacy that took off.
Got it.
The family member who ended up getting the property back, people married, moved, the whole thing. And when they got to a set of kids, different kids got different properties. And so the daughter that got the property back really worked to restore the things to the original landscaping.
Okay.
So I really think that you want time inside. It's a really step back in time, sparse. You're going to see a lot of non-technical things in the house that
Mm-hmm.
when you compare it to the next museum, where you'll be like, oh my gosh, they even had a little push button on the wall to ring somebody in the kitchen to bring them a glass of water thing. It was very much a, we just came over, we're just starting to build our lives, and we're slowly making money and growing. It's an interesting dichotomy to see the difference between that and the next estate if you make the next one the Winterthur.
Okay.
So, Winterthur, you take a little tram ride through the gardens, through the property, learn a little bit more about it. It is a huge estate. Huge. So, you definitely want to have this on a nice day. Having the tram ride, seeing the gardens, you want to give yourself time for the tram ride and then touring the mansion. The mansion, they have guided tours, people in different room who will answer questions and things. You will learn about tie-ins like Jacqueline Kennedy. She helped with a staircase and had her picture in front of the staircase, but she also got those people to help decorate the White House because she loved everything they had done in that house.
Oh, interesting.
She
Okay.
got them to help decorate the White House when she was digging through storage rooms, trying to pull pieces back because all the former presidents had either taken pieces of it home or thrown things into the storage rooms from our historic community house. So they really helped Jacqueline Kennedy bring the White House back to style.
And did you mention then that this is the DuPont family? And you say when they came over from France, they were French immigrants, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think so. I think I did talk about the DuPonts.
Okay.
So then if you start with Hagley Museum and then
Yep.
Winterthur is the after they've made the money. The mansion is huge. But like I said, you walk in, the first thing to your left is that very impressive stairway. And that's where Jackie Kennedy had her famous photo in front of it. One thing that astounds me, the little stories that they tell you when you're going through the dining room. When they entertained, they kept a log so that they never had someone get the same experience twice. So they would start by asking the gardener, what are the best flowers right now in the yard? Then the gardener would bring in the flowers. Then they would match the linens, then the china, then the glassware and the flatware, because they had that many options in their family. And then they decided the food. And then what dishes were they going to use for the dessert? And then what would the dessert be? They kept a log of this. So, Chris, if I just had you over and let's say lilacs were the best flowers, and I went with this purple and green scheme and I served fresh spring pea soup and all of it, you could come again and you would never see any of those same things.
Huh.
Sorry if you love my fresh green spring pea soup, but you would never have the same experience, any part of it, twice. And so they have all sorts of stories like that tied into the history as you're going through the house, as well as fresh flowers everywhere. It's stunning.
Huh.
You'll see a plate that Martha Washington had. You'll see a lot of their china is just amazing. I love places like this where the new money, even in DC, I was at a house where a lot of this might have been the time where the Russian Empire was starting to decline. And a lot of the Russian valuables, china, important things from the Russian family all ended up being sold, marketplaces, things like that. So it's in mansions like this that sometimes you find these European gems that might have been lost to the world.
Interesting.
They were known for the eagle. That was somehow their calling card, their trademark. So it's a fun thing. If you've ever been to Disney and done the hidden Mickey thing, look for the hidden eagles. There's eagles everywhere. You just have to look. And it's in both of the houses. It's in the Winterthur Mansion and the Hagley Museum.
Okay.
I will tell you, though, at Winterthur, save a little bit of time for the gift shop. It is an incredibly well curated collection of goodies. Again, from kids 2 to 102. They have a lot of botanicals there. So if you have any kind of a gardening fanatic in your family, somebody who loves the flowers, the blooms, you name it, whether it's a really cute mug for tea, pens, notebooks, they had so many different things, even botanical chocolates, which I found interesting. I will soon be ripping into a dark chocolate, lavender, and rose gourmet bar myself. I know, it sounds interesting.
The interesting thing about the story of the DuPonts is that they basically left France because of the French Revolution. They were moderates, but they were nobility, and they were in the business of gunpowder manufacturing there. And his father, the father of E.I. DuPont, was actually arrested, and the only thing that kept him from dying on the guillotine was that the Reign of Terror ended. So he was one of the last people in prison there when they decided they chopped off enough heads. And at about that point, they decided America looked like a really nice place to be. So
brave it in the new world.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what they knew coming over. That's what they started with. And then.
Yeah, apparently they hadn't planned to get back into the business, but there was a need here.
Yeah, when you're talking things like westward expansion, gunpowder's needed everywhere. Yeah. If you think the art inside the Winterthur Mansion is stunning, then you need to go to the Delaware Art Museum.
Okay.
So they have cultural art and regional art. And one of the things I got a kick out of was, I never really thought about it, but there were people who were known for illustrating the serials. So those were like short books that came out over in a series.
I was sorry. I was on the top of the Wheaties box there for a second. Okay, I got you now.
Oh, serial magazines.
Yes.
Stay tuned next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. No.
Yeah.
So today's vision of pirates came from this. So when you're thinking the Johnny Depp look, the long braided hair, maybe a blacked out tooth, the coats, the tri-corner hat, all of this, the main artist that had been doing some of these covers, that was his style. And that's what stuck on our heads. And that's what became the trademark impression of just a pirate. But he ended up doing his own school, teaching people how to become illustrators and how to use blank space. And he really worked red into it, whether it was the sash on a pirate's waist or blood on the sand, or he always worked red into it. So he really worked with his students on color, using blank space, the rule of thirds, what we use a lot with for photography today. But he ended up in that area creating a really big draw on regional art.
Interesting. And this is Howard Pyle then.
Correct. So it was his way of then teaching, but he made a mint, and he is the reason today that it's like Pyle's Pirates.
Ah, okay.
I know, it's fun. You learn so much about people and the past, but what's fun about portraits is when you sit there and think like the French Revolution or these nobles, any of these people, we look at their portraits today and that's probably not what they look like. Because if you were the painter and you were getting paid to do somebody's picture, you were going to do like photographers do today and edit. You were going to make sure that they looked good. You got rid of the second chin. Maybe the nose needed to be tweaked a little. Maybe let's make the waist a little less round. That's what these portraits are. So we don't necessarily know if that's what some of these people really look like.
Mm-hmm.
They made a point of explaining at the Delaware Art Museum that these were paid portraits. And if you didn't make this person look good, you not only weren't getting paid, but if you were probably looking at getting punished in some way. So when we look at all these beautiful people that used to be rich and famous back in the days, they might not have been all that beautiful.
Oh.
They also talked about modern art, and they had a fun gift shop there also. I like to get my gifts from my travels, so I always look at the gift shops to see if there's something neat, different, fun, or cool.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can tie your experience into the gifts, whether it's a souvenir for you or if it's something that you're taking back that might be meaningful for somebody else, I love gift shops. If they have a good gift shop, I always try to mention it.
Very good.
So that's a lot of walking, looking, going through gardens. So my favorite place to eat in Wilmington, Riverfront. So it's a great seafood restaurant. They have, of course, appetizers and shareables, but my big suggestion, it's what they call the pasta of the day. It's basically like a spaghetti with kind of a tomato sauce. It's almost more like a tomato cream sauce, not quite like a vodka penny, but they had mussels, clams, scallops, and shrimp.
Okay.
I was watching what everybody else was eating, and it was like 3 meals for me. We definitely took leftovers, but everybody kept looking over at my plate. Can I just try a little bit? Can I just try a little bit? Although everybody else's dishes came with, they call them their potatoes. And those were, if you think of Easter dinners with the family potluck, that
Mm-hmm.
baked hash brown casserole.
Oh, here it's cheesy potatoes, so I don't know what you're talking about. Hash brown casserole. Okay.
Are your cheesy potatoes shredded or sliced?
Mashed.
Oh, that's right. You're California.
Yeah.
If you take shredded hash browns, and it's really healthy here, you're going to mix it with like sour cream, butter.
Oh, we got all that in there too, but
Oh, yeah. A lot of shredded cheddar cheese, top it with breadcrumbs and bake it off. So it's that baked, cheesy, sour cream goodness. Yeah.
and I'm not seeing the restaurant you're talking about. I'm seeing a number of things along the riverfront. Do you have the full name of it here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Big Fish Grill Riverfront.
Got it. Thank you.
The riverfront there, it's like an outdoor mall. There's several different restaurants, several different gift shops. It's a neat place to walk around, catch a little shopping if you want, but the place to eat is the Big Fish Grill Riverfront.
Excellent. It seems like you're starting to wind things down here. Anything else on your itinerary before we get to our wrap-up questions?
I don't think so. The food was good. You're not going to have a problem with getting fresh seafood pretty much anywhere because you're
Yeah.
right there. It's just dare to be different and step out of the national chains.
All right. And when you say the riverfront there, I was thinking this would be the Delaware River because the Wilmington is along the Delaware, but you're actually on one of its tributaries, the Christina River.
And that works out beautifully because the hotel was the Wilmington Christina.
There you go. Anything else we need to know before we go to Delaware, before we get to our wrap-up questions?
Pack your stretchy pants. The food is good, and slow down and enjoy the moments. There's so much to see, so much to learn. It really depends on what kind of a history buff you are, or whether it's maritime, military, agriculture. There's so much to see and do. Like I said, I want to go back and dig deeper because I know that I just basically scratched the surface on my visit there. And with the history park. There's a Victrola Museum. There's a plantation there.
Huh.
There's so many things to see and do. You're just going to be limited by your time.
Excellent. As we get to our wrap-up questions, you're standing in the prettiest spot you saw in Delaware. Where are you standing? What are you looking at?
Ooh, I am in the courtyard at the Hagley Museum
Okay.
looking at the flower gardens.
Excellent. And one thing that makes you laugh and say only in Delaware.
The Cannonball House.
The Cannonball House.
Seriously, who's going to collect cannonballs from people who are throwing them at you while you're drunk, turning around and throwing them back?
There is another thing that makes me laugh. So the shape of Delaware, if you ever looked at the northern shape of Delaware, and it's got this arc to it, that's a perfect arc. It's not a following a river or something like that. Its unique shape here comes from a 12-mile radius around the Newcastle Courthouse. And that's just such a funny thing. I've never seen any other shape of a state in the U.S. that has that interesting border. And if I asked you to summarize Delaware in just 3 words, what 3 words would you pick?
Must be seen.
Excellent. Our guest again is Dannelle Gay from travelingcheesehead.com, which is a blog. It is a TV show. It is a bus tour operation. It is a coffee, as I recall, and many other things that Dannelle manages to keep busy. Is there one particular blog post that you have or TV show that you have done on Delaware that we should send people to?
Yes, I have a couple of articles out, fairly
Excellent.
recent.
We'll put links to those in the show notes at amateurtraveler.com. Dannelle, thanks so much for coming back on the show. Always a pleasure to see you and to hear about your newfound love for Delaware.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Do you hear that? Sounds like breakfast is ready. Because Quaker's coming in hot with morning nutrition. 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber to fuel the rhythm of your morning and kickstart your day. And that sounds absolutely delicious. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
Have you ever had the urge to sneak behind the cordoned off areas of a museum? Or roam the halls after closing time? The Smithsonian's flagship podcast, Side Door, will sneak you behind the scenes of the world's largest museum and research complex. Come learn about the ghosts that supposedly walk the museum halls after dark, how a train robbery gave rise to criminal forensics, why leeches are actually the coolest thing ever, and how to get away with murder in the Arctic. Maybe. You'll discover stories of history, science, art, and culture you won't find in a display case. You can listen to Side Door wherever you get your podcasts, or find us online at si.edu/sidedoor.
My thanks to Dannelle and a special thanks to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler financially. If you're interested in learning how you can get the show early and without ads and also have a monthly Zoom call with me, then go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. If you're interested in traveling with me, then go to amateurtraveler.com/trips where you can learn more information about the May trip to Bolivia. We've already got some people who have signed up for that, and there'll only be 16 slots. Speaking of patrons, Carla, who's a patron, commented on the episode we did on Guinea-Bissau. Loved this episode. As someone of Cape Verdean descent, I would love to visit Guinea-Bissau one day to learn more about the country's connection to Cape Verde. Thanks so much, Carla. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.